One of the greatest illusions on the spiritual path is the presumption that the path that we take has to be serious, dull, and boring, and filled with suffering. This isn't an assumption that we make intentionally. This is something that we unconsciously fall into because of the fact that we're seeking to remove our suffering. So the highest spiritual, you could say, the highest spiritual ignorance is, in essence, the desire to remove suffering. So most people, they have like this unconscious seeking energy when they're not introduced to spirituality, and that looks like, I'm going to do something in order to make myself feel better. So they'll seek happiness in external events, relationships, finding a good career, finding purpose, finding meaning, finding money, finding whatever it might be, right? This is like in essence, I don't feel good, I want to feel better. Then once we have an intuition or an awakening or a glimpse into spirituality, we start to seek in a different way. The seeking now is, I know that I'm suffering, and now I want to get rid of the suffering. So there's this higher level of conscious ignorance, which actually is more of a development of the separate self. So it's almost as though the more awareness you bring to the problems you have, the more sophisticated the ego structure gets in order to protect itself. So you quite literally develop a more intelligent ego as you go along the path, which means that the separate self, which is none other than you, filtered through the belief in separation, your true self, filtered through the belief in separation, protecting what it thinks is essential to itself, which is the body or the mind. Which is why the two greatest fears on this path are the fear of being wrong, the fear of, which is the same as the fear of going insane, the fear of being insane, and the fear of non-existence itself. And every other fear, the fear of my cat dying, dog dying, children dying, the fear of suffering, these are all the same fears, just in different refractions. It's all the fear of non-existence. So what happens is this tile is roasting my ass right now. This is like extremely hot. It's not getting any cooler no matter how long I sit on it. What happens is that we find this very sophisticated self, which we call an ego, that develops into a point where instead of, it knows, I can't I know not to search in the world for happiness, but I tell you what, how about I just remove the suffering instead? So I will still search in the world. I will still bring my attention and focus into separation, but I'll use that attention and focus not to find the objects. I'll use the objects in order to remove the suffering. So it creates another new layer of basically what we would call a firewall of self-protection to prevent ourselves from losing our identity, which is really what it's about, losing something essential to us by virtue of being whole and complete and therefore not fundamentally an individual anymore. Thing is, even in ignorance, you're still not an individual. After ignorance, you're just aware that you're not an individual. You still have an individual experience. You're still going to have a point of view. You're still going to have a mind. You're still going to have thoughts. You're still going to have experience. Nothing actually looks different. The only difference is it's the looking that's different. It's hard to explain. It's like the things you see, a flower still looks like a flower, but there's no separation between what I think I am and the flower. So whereas I can perceive a distance between my head and the flower, there's no, when I say my head, this body's eyes and the flower, but there's no separation between myself and that experience, you see? So what we could say is that experience is whole. It's whole-onymous. It's whole, and it includes everything. It includes both the experience of the duality inside the whole and complete experience, which isn't separate from anything. So it's a semi-paradoxical experience. It's almost an experience that shouldn't be possible. And that's exactly what we find God is. God shouldn't be possible, but God is, you see? So this is the miracle of existence, like the fact that something exists, something is rather than it isn't. You see, this is the beauty of it. This is the wonder, the manifestation of wonder. So the number one premise, there are things in your experience, this is something really important to understand. There are, you could say, key signature qualities that you currently have access to, no matter if you're an enlightened being or not, that are enlightened. In every form of ignorance, there is enlightened. In every ignorant being, so to speak, someone who is not aware of their true nature, there are awakened qualities, there are enlightened qualities. These are things such as forgiveness, curiosity, wonder, beauty, desire for truth, love, joy, happiness. These are all qualities of our true nature, and everybody experiences them. It doesn't matter who or what you are. Now, the whole point of the spiritual path is not to gain these qualities, it's for these qualities to be unconditional. So for all of those, all the words I just shared that point to an actual quality, you could say, or an attribute of ourself, the path is primarily to make these qualities not only accessed and limited to having an external experience create them, because that's simply it. The external experiences that seem to create them keep us seeking for our own attributes, our own level qualities of freedom in the world, which then keeps us bound to the world, which when you're bound to the world, you recreate suffering. And therefore, the cycle continues of suffering and not knowing what you are. So we're never finding something new. We're never finding something different. We're just realizing the unconditionalness of the freedom we already have. So it's like we taste freedom every day, all the time, no matter who we are. And then we realize this somehow, despite tasting freedom, I seem to suffer. So I don't feel like I have the freedom. I feel like my freedom is limited, which makes us seek. Now, because of this process, we think the spiritual path shouldn't be fun. Fun is the summary of all those qualities that I just shared. When you're having fun, you are curious, you are at joy, you are at peace, you are happy, you are wonderful, you're experiencing wonder, you're experiencing beauty, you're experiencing love. Fun is literally the physical expression of love. It's just as plain and simple as that, which is why kids are always having fun. Have you noticed children are always having fun? They are always expressing pure joy and wonder and love and curiosity and playfulness and whatever else is beautiful about life all the time. I mean, I say all the time, like most of the time, because most of the other time we're conditioning them to not have fun. You see, we're conditioning them to limit themselves. That's literally how life seems to move. So what we then realize is that we don't need to be special in order to have fun. We don't need to be special in order to love someone. We don't have to be special in order to forgive. We don't need to be special in order to be happy. We already have done and experienced all of those things. So why is it then that we believe we have to attain something first to then experience those things? We don't need to. So what this basically means is that when we realize that we can have fun before we are awakened, before we are enlightened, we can have fun on the path. It's just plain and simple as that. Now, what this means then is that if we can have fun on the path, the fun path becomes the experience of our own awakening. It's a paradoxical understanding that if the spiritual path is fun, it means we're not listening or doing things in order to remove our suffering. If we're not doing things in order to remove our suffering, we are in the pure state of receptivity. This is the pure place of creativity, of curiosity, of passion, and of wonder. When you move through the spiritual path with that essence, which you will naturally if you're having fun, you are as good as done. And I don't want to say done as in there's no ultimate doneness, because you live in the perpetual curiosity, perpetual adventure mode. So, but the point is that you are free when you're having fun because it's the expression of freedom. So find the path that's fun for you. This is the key indicator. If there's any guidance at all that would ever be worth listening to, it's this. This is the best advice I've ever heard. Have fun. Find the path that's fun. If it isn't fun for you, find a different path. Do what you feel is genuinely interesting and enjoyable. And what you'll find is some people may ask the question, well, Saja, how do I find this fun? How do I, nothing feels fun to me, or it doesn't seem fun. Well, guarantee there's something you find fun on the spiritual path. There's something that you find more fun than anything else. Double down on that. That will then take you to the next thing. You see, you don't need to have the whole map planned out. When you're having fun, you're in a place of not knowing. You don't know what's happening next. You're just, because the fun is the manifestation of previously knowing what was happening next. You better have fun. Then you're enjoying it. So when you're having fun, you're not focused on the next thing that's going to happen. If you're not focused on the next thing that's going to happen, you're fully present and you're receptive to understanding. So then you can find that life will teach you while having fun, because it's almost like when you decide to have fun, when you take the path, which is, by the way, taking the path of curiosity, which means that when you're in a moment of being lost, this is how it boils down to on a practical level. If you take away anything from this video, this is what you take away. On a practical level, it means that the next time or the next moment, it may be this moment right now, where you feel yourself naturally trying to grasp a teaching in order to remove your suffering. That means you are currently suffering, which means you're not enjoying what you're doing. You're doing it as a means to an end. The minute you do it as a means to an end, you're not in a receptive state, which means none of the things you're receiving are going to be embodied or understood fully. So you have to put yourself into the receptive state first. The receptive state is what I call the first form of thought yoga, is play and curiosity. If you do not start this video, for example, or the next video, or the next practice, or the next question inquiry you ask with playfulness and curiosity, you haven't started the path. This is the thing, you haven't started it. You see? Now, the beautiful thing is once you start the path, the place of play and curiosity, it never ends. So what you find is you're living in the adventure. Once you're living in the adventure, there's no start or end. That's freedom itself. And what you'll find is what will dawn upon you is an ever deepening, perpetual cycle of deeper and deeper freedom. It'll make sense if you trust what I say and you take it on board and you implement this. I can guarantee you'll understand what I mean. It's a never-ending path that never actually starts. You kind of slip into the streamline of God. God is interested. God is curious. God is playful. You slip into your natural condition without even knowing you've done that. Now, at this stage, even if it's conditional, right? It may start conditional, but this is the paradox. This is the law of fun. If you move in that direction from that place, it will gradually, you will realize, because you're in receptivity, you will find the right teachings, find the right understanding, find the right guide that will put you into a place of unconditional happiness, which is unconditional curiosity, love, awe, wonder, and freedom. It's just as simple as that. It's such a counterintuitive understanding, because it requires you to stop whenever you're getting lost, to wait for this grasping to die down. And when you wait for the grasping to die down, what then happens is that you will bring yourself into a genuine, you're bringing yourself really into the unknown. You're feeling yourself in the pure unknown, where you're not certain, you have doubt, you don't know where to go next, you maybe feel even lost. But this is just what it feels like to get used to living in creation mode, living in pure not knowing mode. Because when you're knowing, you're blocking everything off. You're not receptive to understanding. When you're in this uncomfortable place, which you kind of want to get away from because you feels more comfortable to know and be embodied as an identity, being in this uncomfortable, unknowing, uncertain place feels at first uncomfortable, but it's actually the place to be. That is, you could say, the natural condition. And this is kind of preparing you to live there. This is preparing you to unconditionally live there. Because think about it, if you can't get used to that now, when will you ever get used to it? Your nervous system won't be prepared, it won't be ready, and when the realizations dawn upon you, you'll close off again. This is why people keep seeking for so long. So get yourself ready, prepare the body mind to be living in this place, which is paradoxically the same thing as living there. This is the craziest thing. It's like the same as being there. It makes no difference. It is the natural condition. It's just you're not used to it. You're used to grasping an identity, knowing where to go next, knowing what to do, using a practice to remove the suffering that you feel, the discomfort that you feel about living in pure nowness, pure new creative bliss, but not bliss in the ecstatic sense. You see? I have a community. The link's in the description. If you'd like to join, I would love you to be there. If you'd like personal guidance from me, I do calls every week. So it'll be cool to see you. Have an amazing day, guys. Take care.